Okay, back to Kiddush. There was a custom in many shuls, it's even brought down in Shulchan Aruch, that Friday night, they still do it in some shuls. More and more they're stopping, but you'll hear the reason why they used to do it. There was a custom in many, many shuls, Friday night after davening, they would make Kiddush in shul. What was the purpose of that? Because people ate in the shul, guests. They ate the meal, Shabbos in the shul. So they would make Kiddush for the guests that not everybody was able to make Kiddush, they didn't whatever, wine. So they used to make Kiddush after Ma'ariv, and then the guest would go right away in the shul and eat. So they had Kiddush b'makom suda. The one that made the Kiddush, if he was planning to go make Kiddush at home, so he didn't want to fulfill his obligation in Kiddush, but he was able to do that to have other people in mind, even though he didn't want to be a Kiddush. But the problem was that he wouldn't be allowed to drink the wine. Because he's not making Kiddush, so you're not allowed to drink before Kiddush. So what did they do? So either in the time of the Gemara, one of the guests would drink the wine, or later on when they still kept this tradition of making Kiddush in shul, even though there are no guests eating in shul, they would give it to a kid to drink. But now, because it's more and more customary that they don't make Kiddush in shul, and if they do, they have a separate room and they go make a whole. So today, most places they don't make Kiddush in shul after Ma'ariv, but there was such a custom at one time. Now, women technically could make Kiddush for men, but it says they shouldn't. Now, are you allowed to dilute wine? So again, this we discussed already. The wines nowadays, if it's a very expensive wine, are already pre-diluted by the company to the maximum that they would be allowed to dilute wine. Because then they obviously sell more wine. And it's not such a good wine, so it's a cheaper wine. So they just add as much water as Halacha allows them to do. So if that's the case, then you can't dilute the wine. What happens if there's no wine Friday night? So what do? So then you make Kiddush and Challah like we learned. What happens if there's no wine or Challah? Then you have no choice. You have to make Kiddush and what's called Chamar Medina. Chamar Medina is literally means the drink of the land, which is a lot of discussion in Halacha. What's the exact definition of Chamar Medina? Honestly, the best interpretation, the best mean of what Chamar Medina is, that it's a drink you'd invite somebody over to your house to drink. Now there are opinions, by the way, that hold soda is Chamar Medina, orange juice is Chamar Medina, apple juice is Chamar Medina, but with all due respect to them, and many people disagree with that also, those are not Chamar Medinas. Nobody says to my house, nobody says to their friend, come to my house for a cup of soda. People say, come for tea, come for coffee, come over to the house to drink coffee or tea. So coffee and tea are halachically considered Chamar Medina. Okay, but Chamar Medina, by the way, only applies in a case where you don't have wine or challah. If there's wine or challah, if there's no wine, you make Kiddush on challah. If there's no challah, then you can make on Chamar Medina. Beer would be considered Chamar Medina. Liquor would be considered Chamar Medina. And this is another interesting shaila with liquor. If you ever see in many shuls, especially in the Hasidish Shtiblach, in many places, Shabbos morning especially, they'll make Kiddush on a little shot glass of whiskey, vodka, scotch, tequila, whatever. There was a Slivovitz. They would make a Kiddush on a little, mamish on a shot glass, which is, let's say, 1 ounce. And they would make Kiddush on that. What's the source of that? There are many that Naftali Rapp should say, there are many great tzaddikim that used to do that. That's based on an opinion, it's nothing to do with Shabbos. That's based on an opinion of a Taz. The Taz in Birchas Hanenin, we learned already when we were learning the Dinim of Brachas, that you need to make an after bracha only if you drink a revius. If you drink 3 ounces of liquid, then you can make an after bracha. If you drink 1 ounce of liquid, you can't make an after bracha. But the Taz holds that yayin sarif, meaning alcohol, because it's so potent, the Taz holds that even on a shot glass, you could also make a bracha achreina. So even though the Magen Avraham disagrees and the Alter Rebbe disagrees, but Shabbos morning, according to the Taz, that an ounce of alcohol is like 3 ounces of wine or any other liquid. So then according to and that's what they rely on, by the way. They rely on the Taz and Shabbos morning because anyway, like we discussed yesterday, it's not a real Kiddush, it's just because it's the main meal, so you make Kiddush during the day. So, but in our circles, we don't do that. We don't. If you drink 10 ounces of vodka, how about 10? The only problem with that, with all due respects to the guys that do it, there are letters from the Rebbe that the Rebbe emphatically writes, you should not make Kiddush on Mashke, not Shabbos, not Yom Tov, not Simchas Torah. They're printed letters from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe is adamantly against people making Kiddush on Mashke. That doesn't mean people don't, but like everything else. Yes, sir. If there's no challah, if there's no wine, you can make Kiddush on bread. But then you need 2 whole challah, which will come too soon, the dinim. Yeah? Say b'chlal, during the day also.
If a person writes in a Kiddush, he has no intention to have his meal, he just wants to say halachic, it's not permitted.
No. Not only that, he can't drink the wine. I'll tell you what they discuss in Halacha. There's a party going on, yeah? There's nobody to make Kiddush. But you're not planning to eat there. You're planning to go home. So you want to make Kiddush for your family. So you don't want to be Yetzi Kiddush here, right? Because then you need Mokum Suda. You're not interested. But they need somebody to make Kiddush. So Halacha says you can make Kiddush for them, even though you don't want to be, like we mentioned at the beginning today, even though you're not going to be Yetzi with Kiddush, but you can still, you have an obligation to make sure, like we discussed the other day, you have an obligation to make sure they hear their Kiddush, so you're allowed to make Kiddush. But again, you can't drink it because you didn't make Kiddush. And that's why we said yesterday, whenever it was, 2 days ago, that if you buy a Kiddush and you don't have Mokum Su'udah properly, you don't have an ounce of cake or challah or something like that, if you're not Yetzi Kiddush, you can't eat. Not only that, you have to make Kiddush again. And you can't eat because you're not Yetzi Kiddush.
You said the lesson that you have a very guffin, but you don't drink it.
Well, yeah, you can make a very guffin, and the people drink it. You could be Yetzi there because it's Berachas Mitzvah, so you could be Yetzi them with the bracha. I'll give you another example. Were you ever by a chuppah? You were by your own, right? And I'm sure you were by others. The Mesader Kedushin, the rabbi, makes very gofen, and the bracha shekid shom mitzvayis v'tzivanu. Then the chassan drinks and the kala drinks. They don't make their own bracha. The rabbi doesn't drink. He's not drinking. He's making it for them. So you have a case, you see clearly, that you make the bracha and you're not drinking as long as somebody else drinks. But somebody else has to drink. If that is a bracha in vain. What?
How much Halacha is because I was going to say over a cup of wine, but we don't drink it? Why?
You drink it by Havdalah.
It's the same concept?
It's the same concept.
It's not a hefsek.
You don't make a guffin.
You don't make a very govern by benching. You just bench in a cup of wine, and then you save the wine later for Havdalah. But you didn't make a very govern.
I'm sorry, I missed.
What?
I missed the point you make on
What? Yeah, as you like to speak your language, Sudah Shlishit. Ken? Get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you bench in a cup of wine.
Yeah.
When do you drink the wine?
I don't drink it.
Who drinks it? Later when they make Havdalah. Right? But why? Because you don't make a very govern when you bench in a kos. You just say, The question would be if there's a Sheva Brachas. There's a big machlekes in Halacha. That's how you're making a Sheva Brachas at Shalosh Shudas. Right? So now you're benching at a cup of wine, and then you have another cup for the Sheva Brachas. So the question is, If you make Shevet Bracha, then you have to drink the wine because you're making Ber Piagafen after the benching. So there's a whole shaila. Do you do it? Don't you? There's whatever. Huh? I'm talking about after Shkia, but you wash before Shkia. No, if it's before Shkia, there's no shaila. So now you benched. So now really there's a chiv of Avdallah. You're not allowed to drink before Avdallah, but you're going to make Shevet Brachas. So there are poskim that say that you drink the cup. And even we once said that a few times in Shul, and I tried checking that out from Elter Chassidim, what the minute, because in the Halacha there's two opinions. I got one guy said this way, one guy said this way, and I never got a clear answer from it. Okay, next. Okay, Lechem Mishnah. What?
So if you have Macham Suda at the Kiddush in Shul, and do you need to make lunch afterwards to Macham Suda or not?
Do you need to wash at home?
The Kiddush and wash.
Are you making Kiddush again at home?
Yeah.
Why?
Why not? Macham Suda, you're having a meal.
So if it's just Ber Guffin, it's not an issue. Right? Yes? Because you just make Ber Guffin. You go home and make a Ber Guffin 20 times if you want. No, but one second. Let's talk about this. If you have Kiddush and Shul, and you ate cake, so you're Yaitse Kiddush. Now you're going home to eat a meal. Do you have to make Kiddush again at the table? If everybody heard Kiddush already. If the wife didn't hear Kiddush, of course you have to make Kiddush again for them. But let's say your wife wasn't Shul, everybody wasn't Shul. Now you're going home to eat the meal. You had cholent and cake and shul. Now you're going home to have a meal. Do you have to make Kiddush at home or not? Halachically not. There are some people that do stam because it looks nicer. But halachically, you were Yaitse Kiddush. Now you're going to eat a meal. One thing has nothing to do with the next. So technically you don't have to, and it's not an issue to make Kiddush because you're just doing Ber Piagafen. Friday night you wouldn't be able to make another bracha if everybody heard Kiddush because you sing a bracha in vain. But Ber Piagafen is not a big issue during the day Kiddush, right? So if somebody wants to make Kiddush, they could. They don't have to. But again, they're Yaitzes, so the Shabbos.
It's not considered Hebrew.
What?
It's not considered Hebrew to do it again.
Heater? No. I mean, if you feel like you want to do it, because it looks right for the table, so to speak. But halachically, you don't have to. What?
It's just work again for the day, but I just have the wife just say work again.
Why can't she just make the bracha by Piagaf and drink the wine? Because a lot of women don't want to drink a cup of wine. Not everybody wants to drink a cup of grape juice either. Yeah, technically she can make her own kiddush. She could do it Friday night also.
No, this is just that one drop. Or is it better you should say with all the additions, something that
A wife could say, Ber Piagaf and Yaitse Kiddush. You don't have to say all those. I mean, it's nice to say. What?
What's better, to say it or not to say the extras?
If you didn't say them before Kiddush, if you didn't say them, you said them already.
You didn't say it. The rabbi said it in shul, and you ate it in shul, but now you're doing it for your wife. So
Okay.
is it better to do it for, I know you don't have to, but is it better to?
So let's go back a minute. Okay. The rabbi makes Kiddush in shul, let's say. The rabbi says the stuff before. Should everybody themselves say that stuff from before? Let's go back let's go back to Friday night. The head of the household makes Kiddush for everybody. Yes? Should everybody say Shalom Aleichem Neshes Chayil, or just the guy that makes Kiddush says it? Why? You're saying Shabbos day, what's the difference?
Shalom was not part of Kiddush, that's the angels.
So the mitzvah of Doi Sidasa, you say, no? You say that?
Yeah.
Why? Because you're supposed to say it.
Oh, so you're supposed to say all this stuff?
Why? I don't see why not. If you're supposed to say it, you say it. If you didn't say it before, say it after. Why shouldn't you say it? Now, you ate a Kiddush? Yeah, 100% you ate a Kiddush. But the question is, why shouldn't you say it?